This is Peter Griffin, loving husband, hard worker, and very responsible drinker.
Sweet morning drinking.
Yeah. Who am I kidding, bro? Here he is being a degenerate alcoholic.
Clean up on aisle 3. I got it.
Guess what? It gets way worse than this. So today, we're going to be going through every single episode of Family Guy to find out exactly how much alcohol Peter has drunk, starting with the episode, The Giggity Wife. Peter might be an expert at drinking, but there are times when he gets wasted, and I really do mean wasted. One of such times is when Peter and his drinking buddies went to Harvard. Yes, the prestigious university. And no, not for educational purposes.
Man, I bet they got fancy food up there at Harvard. Pigs with apples in their mouths. Or them lambs what ain't never seen the light before.
Hey, we should drive up there and use that car to eat for free.
Let's go to Harvard.
Well, there you have it, free food. I'd say the idea came from being under the influence, but one glass of beer ain't enough to do that. That being said, Harvard was everything they expected. Posh, fancy, breakfast for dinner. But the bars in the area were meh.
So this is a Harvard bar, huh? Seems pretty normal.
No, right? Where are the people passed out in the corner? Where are the drunks itching to start a bar fight? Where are the overachievers that end up puking all over their friends? The place was a total buzzkill, so the boys decided to hit up a more fitting place. That's what I'm talking about. Much better than a bar with puking drunks. And just the right place for the gang to get properly hammered. Clearly, nobody parties like Peter and his friends. And what better way to end such a night than by showing off to your ex? A bit much, some might say, but it sure as hell beats sending a drunk text to your ex. Anywho, with the way the guys partied, it was a miracle they made it back to Quahog the next morning.
Oh, hey, Stewie.
After all was said and done, somehow Quagmire was the only one to do something really dumb and regrettable on their bender, marrying a hooker. But that's a different story for a different day. In the end, Peter consumed a total of 8 beers and 2 shots of whiskey. Could be worse, and in fact, it's about to get worse. When one is as much of an alcohol enjoyer as Peter is, it's just a matter of time before some life-changing incident forces them to go to AA meetings. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the Peter Griffin was mandated to attend AA meetings. It all started when he and Brian went to see a movie at a cinema.
You want a drink?
You snuck in liquor?
Loosens me up so I can talk to the people around me.
Get in on that.
Of course, Peter snuck in some alcohol, and Brian, the alcoholic dog, would never object to a sip of some good liquor. You can probably figure out what happens next now that alcohol is involved.
Sit down!
Move! Stop blocking the screen, you jerk!
Step away from the young lady. You asked for it.
Trust me, it was actually worse than it looked. Anyway, fast forward to after Peter and Brian get arrested, put on trial, and sentenced to 30 days of AA meetings. While others are sharing stories of how alcohol has ruined their lives or something, Peter thinks it's a place to trade cool drunken tales.
This one time me and Joe and Quagmire made a bet to see who could drink the most beer and still drive.
I'd say no kids were harmed during that whole debacle, but I'd be lying. Which, come to think of it, Peter does crazy drunken stuff like this, or even worse, all the time, and yet it's a minor disturbance at the cinema that finally gets him in trouble with the law. Make it make sense, please. Be that as it may, AA meetings were such a drag for Peter and Brian that they had to liven them up somehow.
Hey, anyone in the house addicted to alcohol?
Bringing alcohol to a bunch of barely repressed alcoholics was like putting a lion in a petting zoo.
So I clicked on it, and the girl's got a bigger wang than I got.
Okay, that's enough drunk talk for now. For a full-grown man of Peter's size, the sizable 270 pounds, I'm pegging him down for at least 6 beers for that level of wastedness. With the AA meetings now a low-key hangout spot for drunks to drink, it didn't take too long for the police to come a-sniffing. But Peter and his fellow alcoholics had it all under control.
Oh no, there's a policeman coming.
You know what to do. Alcoholics, transform!
First of all, props to their cover-up skills, one of the best I've ever seen. Secondly, this is what led to one of the greatest TV show musicals of all time, Mr. Booze.
Mr. Booze. Mr. Booze. Mr. B-double-O-Z. Spells booze.
The sheer amount of effort that went into the singing and dancing that followed, who wouldn't have been convinced that they'd turn over a new leaf? Except Peter later drove home that night in his heavily inebriated condition and got into a life-threatening accident. But there is a silver lining in every morbid situation. Thanks to that accident, Peter finally decided to go 30 days sober and reevaluate his drinking lifestyle.
We can finally drink again.
Peter, didn't you learn anything from this?
These are going in the garbage, but these I'm keeping for myself. Moderation, Lois.
Not sure how trashing every 3 beers from a 6-pack is a great idea rather than just keeping it aside for another day, but hey, at least he learned moderation, I guess. And it only took a total of about 10 beers and 5 shots of whiskey to get there. It's hard to say what really started Peter's descent into full-blown alcoholism. Perhaps it's the mundane life of being a middle-aged husband with annoying kids and a dull 9-to-5 job. What I do know is that losing the father who never really loved him only made him hit the bottle much harder. It all began when he decided to clown up for Meg's birthday.
Meg, your father worked very hard to put this party together.
Hey, kids, I'm Pea Pants, the inebriated hobo clown who wears found clothing and eats out of your garbage can.
Oh boy, I'm sure nothing good can come out of this. I know this is Peter and Lois's way of making it up to Meg for not knowing or caring how old she was, but dressing up as a drunk clown is a surefire recipe for a messed up birthday party.
Yeah, I don't think you're actually supposed to swallow those.
Yep, and so it begins. I must say though, Clown Peter really pulled off something quite unique with those scarves. No illusions needed. That's a strong 8 out of 10. Anyway, the tricks were just the beginning, and so was the alcohol.
Peter, have you been drinking? Well, little. It is a party.
Well, he's not wrong. I mean, what's a party without some booze to get things popping, I guess? Where I draw the line is him trying to perform tricks on a unicycle while drunk as all hell. Then again, it's not the worst thing he's ever done drunk.
This is gonna blow you guys away.
Grandpa! Oh my God! Somebody call an ambulance!
Maybe you better call 2 ambulances.
Taken back, considering that little accident cost his dad his life, it's definitely up there on the list of worst things. But at least he got to hear his dad's final words.
Come closer. There's something I need to say to you.
What is it?
You're a fat, stinking drunk.
Well, it's not so surprising, as far as I remember. He's never had a single nice thing to say about Peter for a long, long time. Why should his deathbed be any different? That being said, his dad's last words really stuck with Peter, making him swear off alcohol and seek questionable alternatives.
What are you doing?
Crack?
What the
Hey, at least I'm not drinking, Brian.
It could be worse. Thanks to Brian, Peter went on to delve into the root of his alcohol addiction. His soul-searching led him to some surprising discoveries. Turns out Peter's dad wasn't actually Peter's dad, which led him on a hunt to find the real one in Ireland.
You know, Ireland has more drunks per capita than people.
I don't think the Irish drink as much as people say they do.
Big surprise, Ireland is exactly as you'd expect from an episode of Family Guy. Plus, it doesn't help that the first thing Peter and his real dad do when they meet is a drinking competition to somehow prove he's actually Peter's dad.
Let's drink until the alcohol in our system destroys our livers and kills us.
I just want to point out the DNA tests exist for these kind of situations, but oh, heaven forbid logic stops Peter from doing what he does best. Anyway, I got like 50 on Peter's dad winning. He's practically got whiskey running through his veins. Peter's victory came his father's acknowledgement that he was in fact his son. As for his drinking problem, it was renewed once more, big shocker, now that he'd found a father who was actually proud of him. Who wouldn't be proud of a kid who can guzzle down 18 shots of whiskey and 26 beers in one episode? With the way Peter drinks, he's definitely not setting a good example for the kids. Heck, it's a miracle that they're still somewhat barely functional children, but occasionally one of them tends to fall off the wagon and do some pretty crazy shenanigans. Like Meg when she discovered the joys of alcohol and the confidence that comes with it.
Ugh. And don't go crazy.
That was just lucky.
Hell yeah?
I'll be damned. The gift of drinking is genetic. Anyways, Lois catches on to Meg's newfound love for drinking, and you wouldn't believe who she leaves to deal with the problem.
Your mom says you've been drinking.
A little bit, but it's nothing you have to worry about.
Yeah, leave the alcoholic father with no sense of self-control to talk to his daughter about self-control. Marvelous. Whatever could go wrong?
You want to see where I was sitting when you were born?
And they just so happen to be talking about the dangers of underage drinking and alcohol addiction in a bar. I'm sure we all know how that one's gonna go down. Like a tequila shot. I actually haven't had tequila. I doubt it goes down smoothly, but I wouldn't know. You know, as much as this is one of the worst parenting things ever done, it's actually one of the very, very, very few times that either parent has bonded with Meg. It's almost sad. But then again, what better way to bond than alcohol in a spontaneous trip to Vegas? Yeah. What a night, huh? The kind that ends with them waking up in the middle of the ocean and swearing off alcohol. Yeah, right, I'd give it a day. So in total, Peter guzzled down about 10 shots of tequila, 12 mini bottles of whiskey, and 15 beers. Just the right amount to smooth over that awkward father-daughter bonding time Peter is so very terrible at. Man, it's been a crazy ride so far. I'm actually starting to get a hangover. I'm not even the one drinking. My man Peter has gulped down 10 shots of tequila, 12 mini bottles, and 34 shots of whiskey, and 79 beers. I read that like it was a money amount that he owed someone. I'm just oh so terribly used to it. But believe me when I say, that all is nothing compared to what's coming next. Like a surprising number of TV shows, there comes a time when they do the Charlie in the Chocolate Factory reenactment, and for Family Guy, instead of chocolate, the prized product is beer. It all started when Peter and the guys were catching up on their weekend morning beer.
We interrupt for this breaking news. Pawtucket Pat has announced that he's opening his never-before-seen brewery to a lucky few.
Probably already know how the story goes. In order to win, the lucky few had to find a silver scroll and a bottle of beer, and trust me, everyone was dying to win, even if it meant dying literally.
2 more dead from alcohol poisoning. Wouldn't mind finding that thing myself.
Like even Death himself got involved, and that meant Peter was definitely going to be doing the most in order to win.
Why do you care so much about touring a stupid brewery?
Everyone has their sanctuary. Fat people have Wisconsin, and I have the Pawtucket Brewery.
Okay, I see him. Starting strong with 2 cartons of beer is a pretty good way to win or die of alcohol poisoning, but that's kind of winning in your own way. I just feel like we can go bigger, you know? We're trying to win a competition here.
Go, 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 go. Nothing.
Peter, it's 7 in the morning.
Oh, that's what I'm talking about. 9 fracking cartons of beer, and dude doesn't even look too buzzed to lose focus on the mission at hand. A real go-getter right there, let me tell you what. Sadly, after all that hassle, there was not a single scroll inside. Peter would later go on to find the scroll in a pretty random bottle, all things considered.
Last beer. Here goes. I bet that scroll makes the beer taste terrible. What the hell?
Well, luck works in mysterious ways, I guess, and thanks to that, Peter got to spend a day at the beer factory. Probably the happiest day of his life, with his marriage being a distant second place. Can't blame him, though. To an alcoholic or alcohol enthusiast in denial, the place was literally heaven. Beer river, beer waterfalls, beer fountains. What more could someone like Peter ask for? And much to my surprise, he didn't immediately rush to drown himself in all that brewed goodness. That is, until he found the one beer that never goes flat.
Beer that never goes flat. This beer will still be carbonated long after you die of old age and we buy another dog.
Peter, I wouldn't...
Wow, that's incredible.
Oh, what the hell. Cheers.
They weren't exactly pleased with Peter and Brian tasting the product without permission, so they were kicked out. Poor guy had to drown his sorrows and distract himself somehow.
Lois, take a letter. Dear Pawtucket Pat, you're a bad man, and you made me cry.
Must say, it feels refreshing to see Peter drinking a cocktail for once. And even more refreshing is the fact that he actually had a hidden talent for playing the piano.
Peter, that's incredible. You're like the idiot from Shine.
And leave it to Lois, the objective best wife in animation history, to try and take advantage of him to enter a piano competition against a rival she hated. The only problem was figuring out what made Peter a great pianist.
This'll make you feel better. I think we found his muse.
Well, I'll be fricked. Alcohol does have its advantages. You just need to find out what you're good at while wasted. Anywho, Lois struggled a bit with the whole morality of using Peter's alcoholism to win the competition over some petty rivalry. Then she simply said, screw it.
Consume.
I love you so much.
Oh, what a loving wife. And look, she got him a little something before he got on stage.
Here's a little something for good luck. Watch the legato in the 4th measure. Go.
Hey, at least she got what she wanted. Victory. And it's not like Peter didn't enjoy himself throughout the whole ride. All in all, the fat schmuck drowned himself in 2 Bloody Marys and 172 beers. Not a bad trade for a magical factory tour and a pianist trophy, I guess. Peter has no doubt proven himself to be a man who'd probably sell his family for booze, especially beer. I mean, this is a dude that goes out to drink with his pals at 8 a.m. on a Saturday morning.
What's wrong with us? It's Saturday morning and we're drinking in a bar. We should be drinking at the Goodwill donation dumpster. Because right now is when all the yard sales end.
Joke's on you if you thought he was going to suggest something other than day drinking. Later in that same episode, Lois had to go on a retreat, leaving the family under Peter's care. A big mistake. While the other kids may have been able to fend for themselves, Stewie wouldn't have. And this was Peter's way of taking care of the poor baby.
Chris and Meg are off to school. Guess it's just you and me now. You want a popsicle? Breakfast popsicle? Whoa, there's vodka in here. Now what did you want?
Glossing over how he wanted to give Stewie a popsicle for breakfast, he was also 2.5 hours late in taking the little tyke to preschool. But no, the vodka was much more important, so much that he had to gulp down half the bottle in seconds.
Milk. Let me quick just check in the freezer. Here's your veggie burger. It'll thaw out. Suck on it. It'll thaw out nice. I'm out of here.
My bad. It was the full bottle of vodka. Dad of the year, everyone. I'm pretty sure Stewie never made it to preschool that day. Speaking of his bad parenting, who can forget the time he made a sensitive and hardworking clone of himself for the family? Why? So we could spend more time drinking at the Clam.
Guys, should we wrap it up?
Yeah, but can one of you throw glitter on me? Better if Lois thinks I'm at a strip club.
Peter, I think you're a little too drunk to walk home.
Can we give you a ride?
I'll just black out and never know how I got home.
Gotta admit, though, it's not such a bad idea. Blacking out and expecting to find your way home, though, that is a bad idea.
Works every time. And it's good for the environment, maybe.
I stand corrected. Turns out you can black out and magically get home somehow, and with a couple cans of beer too for the road. As we've established, to get wasted as he does on a normal basis, he'd have to have consumed about 6 bottles of beer. You don't just take my word for it. Peter has the science of the whole thing down to a T.
I know how many beers I can drink and still be able to drive. I figured it out. 7. 6.
Well, you heard it from the expert himself, folks. If you want to drink and drive, the limit is 6 beers. At least he made it home with some bizarre shenanigans, unlike that one time.
Okay, Joe, you're drunk. Give me your keys. And I'm drunk, so I'll give you my keys. Okay, now we're both good to drive home.
Yeah, that totally sounds like a great idea. Not.
You been drinking tonight, sir?
No, officer. I just had a glass of dinner with my wine.
Step out of the car and walk a straight line, please.
I guess for once, Peter wasn't the one behind the wheel, drunk and flagged by a police officer. Then again, he is still drunk while impersonating an officer, so it's not any better. Which just begs the question, what is the limit for Peter when trying to climb Mount Everest? Got you off guard there, didn't I? I know the fat schmuck climbing Mount Everest. Whoa, what? Shocking. Except Peter did more than just climb.
When you drink at high altitude, it hits you even faster. Whoa, buddy! You don't know how much you mean to me. Why can't you hit a curveball? I've done nothing with my life.
Funnily enough, Peter was right. Alcohol does get to your system faster in high altitudes. Still on the list of drinking escapades is that one time he and the gang went to a baseball game where the testosterone and beer just kept on flowing.
4 beers, please. Anything else, fellas?
Yeah, I'll have a beer.
Anyone else want another?
Yeah, why not?
Quagmire?
I'm good.
I'm good with one more.
I'm fine.
Yeah, I'm fine with one more, too.
So much for taking the last one to the bathroom, and to think he was already drunk off his ass before the game had even started. Although the 6 beer limit isn't always consistent, remember back in the first ever episode of Family Guy, Peter surpassed his drinking limits, and this was after he promised Lois he would avoid any alcohol.
Promise me, Peter.
Honey, I promise, not a drop of alcohol is gonna touch these lips tonight.
Drink the beer.
Right here. All right, what do I win?
Another beer.
Oh, I'm going for the high score.
Well, can't say we didn't see that one coming. But what's a couple of beers? I'm sure Lois wouldn't mind. Of course, like any good alcoholic, Peter doesn't stop there. Dude went on to drink 37 beers. At least he made it home. Someone go check the hood of his car real quick. Now, you think that's a lot to drink, but I see your 37 beers and raise you 300.
You drank 300 bottles of beer without succumbing to alcohol poisoning. Are you a witch?
Don't tell anyone.
300 fracking bottles of beer. You just gotta applaud the effort at this point. But to be fair, Peter was only able to pull that off because the literal personification of death was recovering from a sprained ankle and couldn't carry out his sacred duties. But that doesn't mean he needs death to be on a vacation to pull off a feat like that. Take, for instance, that one time he tried to down about 600 gallons of beer straight from the brewery's tank.
600 gallons of beer in one big thing. You know, I always thought I could chug that until now.
Are you nuts? No way you can chug that.
You know what I love about Peter? It's the confidence, the balls, the sheer audacity to try and challenge 600 gallons of beer.
It's killing him, but he's doing it.
That was bloody awesome. And totally not what you should try to do at home, by the way. Still awesome, though. Granted, he couldn't actually finish all the beer before passing out. I dare say he managed to consume about 100 gallons at least. That's about 1,067 bottles worth of beer. Not bad. But that ain't even the most he's drunk in one go. We got to see Peter's love for alcohol pushed to the extreme in the episode Drunk with Power. It all started when they made Peter the tour guide for the brewery he works at.
Griffin, I'm glad I caught you. There's a VIP who wants a tour of the brewery. It's Brett Kavanaugh.
Brett Favre?
No, that's a different scumbag Brett. I'm talking about the Supreme Court Justice.
Yeah, not every day you hear someone as important as a Supreme Court justice come to take a tour of a brewery. But hey, judges can be alcoholics too, I guess.
Hello, you Judgesty. Peter Griffin.
Hey, just call me Brett. I'm so pumped. I love beer.
Yeah, you've screamed that twice now.
Well, given Brett's stature and seemingly unparalleled love for beer, it was only fitting that Peter gave him the grandest of tours.
Double keg stand. Are there any chicks watching?
One thing I do know. Beer can only be drunk in an upright body position.
Turn around for a second. You're gonna feel pretty silly.
Now, I'm no expert at drinking, but that has got to be the most extreme sport version of chugging from a keg. And the fun was only getting started.
Yes, experience what it's like to be beer.
And we drank our own pee in the can.
No, we didn't.
Yeah, Peter definitely drank his pee. That and about 3 kegs worth of beer, just look at the size of that can. But that's nothing compared to what they have planned for the grand finale.
Last one in's a rotten egg. Let's see who can get the reddest the fastest.
They aren't just chugging the beer either. Where's the fun in that? They have a whole synchronized swimming routine in there. Aw, don't they just look like 2 odd ducks having the time of their lives in a massive vat of booze? By the time the routine is over, that vat is looking significantly emptier. I dare say, between the both of them, they probably downed about 200 gallons.
All people want to do is scream at me in steakhouses about women's bodies.
My wife hates you, which kind of makes me secretly like you. Hey, Brett, do you think that we'll still be friends at college?
I don't know, man.
At this point, I'm just wondering how these guys aren't already sick of all the beer. Or, regular sick from all the alcohol. Alas, fun times like these must come to an end, except in special cases where there's a good old switcheroo.
God, we were super drunk last night. Did I accidentally kill Brett Kavanaugh? Why did you accidentally kill me? Just kidding. I don't want my life anymore. Brett.
Well, no. What actually happened was that Brett was tired of living the cushy yet boring life of a Supreme Justice and wanted Peter's life of unabashed alcoholism. Hilarity ensues, of course. Peter is a terrible Supreme Court Justice. I'm sure there was a lesson to learn somewhere, but that's none of our frackin' business, is it? Our business is how much alcohol Peter guzzled through this entire episode, which comes down to a total of 1,736 beers. Now, as much as Peter tends to go on random drinking sprees every so often, let's not forget the amounts of alcohol he's been consuming daily since he was of legal age at 21.
Well, what do you think, guys?
I'll go next.
Considering he's about 43 years old, that's 22 years of hitting the bottle like it's nobody's business. So if we go by an average of 3 beers per day, which I believe is pretty fair, honestly, then do the math, take the 1, circle it around, minus the thought, you get 24,090 beers.
Peter has consumed a grand total of 1 bottle of vodka, 2 Bloody Marys, 10 shots of tequila, 12 mini bottles, and 34 shots of whiskey. Oh, also a very concerning 27,510 beers. And yet, he miraculously remains alive and well.
Well, relatively alive and well.
If that sounds nuts to you, though, then you need to click the link on screen right now, because this is nothing compared to what other characters have gotten up to. Thanks for watching.